We're going to get started with head coach Jay Johnson. First question will go to Brian Peterson.
Coach, there's so many different things I'd want to ask you about in this game, but I guess, can you give us a little insight into what it went into calling that appeal? Who was it who saw that the runner missed first base?
Dugout. Go watch the video. There's like 5 guys that were right in line with first base that started pointing right away while the play was still going on. Those guys were super engaged all game long. They've been engaged mentally the entire season. And that's the second time that's happened this year, Brian. We had a pivotal win early in the season. And my credit to those guys. And it's obviously an enormous play in that game.
Did you kind of feel like you needed some karma to go on your side? You had the call in the game before with the foul ball off the screen that you tried to get them to overturn and it didn't work. Did it just feel like maybe the breaks weren't going your way and you needed just one?
I don't know about that. I don't think anything last night had anything to do with the game today. That was an unfortunate play. I mean, you got one of the best players in the country at bat, with the tying run on second and no outs. We would have liked that at bat to continue last night for sure. But I think it did change the momentum of the game a little bit today. And, watching the replay, it looks like they got it right.
Thank you.
Next question, David Kelly.
Hey, Jay, what did you like about the way, obviously you couldn't get the big hit last night. I believe you were 0 for your last 6 with runners in scoring position, but the way the club kind of, was able to get those big hits in the 8th and 9th innings today.
I thought it was outstanding, David. Friday night, we did get those hits when it was 4-4 and put up 8 runs late. Were amazing with runners in scoring position. And then you're right, last night, I credit Cooper Jerpy a lot. That was one of the best pitched games of the season by any of our opponents. Looking at the Pac-12 schedule before it started, I really believed he would be a great challenge for our team, and he executed his pitches last night. So I think that had more to do with him than anybody else. We just kind of simplified some things, back to our book approach, if you will, and doing what we needed to do to take more quality at bats with runners on base and in scoring position today, and the guys executed it beautifully.
And what does it just mean to be Pac-12 champs? Obviously, your first team you take to the edge of a national championship, then you miss some tournaments, and then COVID happens, and now you're back with a championship.
It's very meaningful. I think if you've studied Pac-12 baseball history, you know how difficult this accomplishment and this achievement is. And, I'm very proud of the players in the team because, we've, like you said, we're on the cusp of winning a national championship. The next year we were in the top 10 for most of the season. The next year you can't get any closer to being left out of the tournament than we were, and these guys never wavered. A lot of these guys that make up this team, had to deal with that disappointment at the end of the 19 season where we won 13 out of 14 games, finished over 500 in Pac-12 play, and didn't make the NCAA tournament. That was heartbreaking. And then more of a disappointment was last year. I've said this before. I thought we had an Omaha team in 2020. We had some good early season wins. The chemistry of that group was taking shape. And on March 12th, 2020, the message was like, hey, what is happening across the globe right now is out of our control. But where we want to go, what we want to do, all that's changing on that is a delay in when we get there. And I'm proud of those guys. A lot of them returned this year, persevered, through a couple disappointments, last year with the season getting canceled, came back ready and, led us in a big time way. And then just historically, this is significant for our program. This is a great, perennial successful program, but Pac-12 championships and Pac-12 success hasn't always come easy. And so, especially this year with old players, veteran teams, obviously really good coaches, really good pitching staffs, this is a massive deal. And I'm really proud of our team for getting this done.
Next question, Brian Savage.
Good evening, Coach, and congrats on the big win. So these last two games were really grinded out contests that felt like playoff games to a large extent. do games like these make the team battle tested, help prepare you guys to take on whatever comes your way in the NCAA tournament?
There's no question. I think the whole Pac-12 schedule has done that, Brian. And this was certainly no exception. You know, obviously you get a huge one-run win here at a one-run win against Oregon, epic comeback one-run win against Washington, comeback one-run win against Utah. And I think it shows our players are very comfortable playing in close games. And I think that's a testament to their competitiveness and the makeup of our team.
So in game one, Oregon State ties the game up 4 in the 6th inning. You guys then proceed to score 8 runs in the 7th and 8th innings combined. After the conclusion of the 6th inning, was there something that you and the staff may have said to the players in the dugout that gave them perhaps like a lift in confidence before they started the 7th inning?
Yeah, we had a small team meeting, and I just said, hey, fellas, this is how it's going to go. You know, we want to go to the College World Series. A lot of games are going to be like this. We are very good playing in close games, and all I want you to do is have as much fun as you possibly can competing for the next 9 outs on both sides of the ball, and then for the duration of our time. And they did that. I mean, there was no flinch in that thing today. It wasn't going our way today, period. And for them to stay with it, and so many guys contributing to that rally today, I think that's the real story. It shows the depth of our team. And once it got rolling a little bit, you could see it was going to happen. And it just, again, how players were getting behind each other. And some of the at-bats were taken by guys that haven't been at the forefront of this thing, and seeing the enthusiasm of the team made me very proud to be their coach, regardless of the result.
Thank you.
Next question, Michael Lev.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about the depth. If you look at some of the guys who were integral in the comeback today, you know, Tyler Casagrande, Chase Davis, Kyson Donahue scored the winning run, I believe. Did this game just sort of exemplify that particular strength of your team?
No question about it. And I've said it a lot, and I hesitate to, or I feel bad repeating myself, but we have more than 9 starters. Chase Davis is a superstar, and he's gotten better as the season's gone along, and has handled his role the way 5-star athletes coming in big programs don't always handle it, and has showed a ton of maturity, and has just kept working, getting better, and been a bigger and bigger part of our success as the season's gone along. There's a bright future here. And that was a professional at bat off a guy that was carving us up pretty good. You know, Jacob Finnigs is one of the best pitchers in the league. You know, Tyler Casagrande, I mean, how about that guy? I mean, huge hit against Washington, you know, and that comeback win in the 10th inning, hits a home run after being put in as a defensive replacement on Friday. And then, you know, has to get the start today, and put together, I mean, drag bunt for a hit, 3-0. Wanted to make sure we broke up the no-hitter. You know, so good job by Tyler. And then played good defense in the outfield on some tough plays. And then big hit to continue that rally. You know, you mentioned Kyson didn't move his feet. Got hit with that pitch with the left-hander Watkins on a ball running in. Allowed us to get in position to do what we needed to do. And matchup-wise, it was going to get a little bit hairy for us. So, I mean, that's not an at-bat that's going to get talked about, but him simply not moving his feet on a running fastball in changed that game for us in the 9th inning today.
To what extent were you aware of the scenario that ended up playing out, and or did you make your team aware of the scenario that ended up playing out with you clinching the tie, you know, if you win and Oregon loses?
Well, not to your surprise, probably, I don't look at the standings very much because it has nothing to do with the actual play on the field. But last night, you know, and I don't know if it was my way of moving past the game, I actually tried to figure it out. Like, I was a PE major, so this isn't common for me. And I actually called Brett Gleason. I was like, Brett, make sure I have this right. If we win tomorrow and Oregon loses, Stanford cannot catch us in winning percentage at that point in time. All Oregon can do is tie, and we have the tiebreaker. We're the Pac-12 champs and have the automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. And so we kind of bounced it off each other a little bit. And I'm sure there was guys on the team that had figured it out. I hadn't until about 11:30 in my room last night. So I woke Brett up and and made sure we had that right. And then I made the team aware of it today. I mean, it's pretty simple. We've had this conversation 3 times. Hey, who wants to win the Pac-12 championship? Raise your hand. Okay, every hand goes up. Who wants to go to Omaha? Great, raise your hand. Okay, now let's turn our focus to what we need to do to be the best team we possibly can be and create opportunities like winning a conference championship and such moving forward. And so we talked about it briefly before the day and then had to get to work on it.
Next question, Greg Hansen.
Hey, Jay, what would you say to an outsider to help them appreciate how difficult it is to win the Pac-12?
Well, I think if you watch the movie 300 and some of those battle scenes, that's what I would liken it to. And if you need statistics to back that up, this is my 6th year, but it's really only the 5th time in Pac-12 play because of COVID. There's been 5 different champions. And if something doesn't scream parity than that, I don't know what else does. So I think it's a terrific accomplishment. I think it's more meaningful this year because frankly, for every team, it was two years of work for one season. And I'm incredibly proud of that.
Piece by piece, as you were recruiting these guys, were you thinking to yourself, this could lead to something pretty good?
Yeah, and it's amazing how far it goes back. The night I was announced, I was at dinner, in Tucson celebrating, and, Preston Price, called and committed right away. He was committed to Nevada, followed us. Dante Williams, I wasn't as popular to Dante Williams when it had Nevada across my chest as now that it had Arizona, but the ball was moving on that happening. And then you take that forward. So that's 2015. That's June of 2015. And then go July 2020, we got Austin Smith, and we got Tanner Otremba. So that's 6 years of every day of putting the 2021 team together. And so, yeah, it's really meaningful to me when you look at it in that context. I don't know how many 365 times 6 is, but it's a lot of days. And, I think we used all of those days well.
Thank you, Jay.
Next question, Brian Peterson.
The bullpen, if you count everybody today, gave up 2 runs, and most importantly, I noticed last 10 times that Oregon State had runners in scoring position, nobody came through. Considering the way that game started, could you have ever envisioned that you'd even have a shot at the end?
Yeah, we had 9 guys ready to roll today. The only guys that were not available were Chase Silseth and Garrett Irvin. Everybody else was available today. And so when we got the lineup, which was late, it's just how they do it. Some coaches like to do it that way. We lined it up, and we got a little bit of help because they had Wade Meckler, who in my opinion is their best player, hitting leadoff, left-handed. And then it went 5 right-handers in a row. And then it went 7 left, 8 right, 9 left, and then you're back up at 1 left. And so we started Austin. They took 3 good at bats against him. It was my decision of just like, hey, maybe they're not going to be as prepared who we bring in next. That was Chandler. He's pitched in similar situations. We felt like he could get us a little bit of length, which, he essentially was the starter because we had no outs in the first inning. Then that wrapped us around to that spot where we could get 3 out of 4 lefties, which was Randy. Okay. Then after Randy, we went to Quinn, who had a fresh arm, hadn't pitched since last weekend. We felt like he could get us some length. I think Gil Luna was a big story of the game today, much as he was last weekend. Man, I can't wait to put him in the game right now. And then got us some length, and it allowed us to come back. And now you're sitting there with Vince ready to go and at the right spot in the lineup to bring him in. Really, the only decision making was in the last inning. And, we obviously let him go through 2 lefties in that time frame. And they bunted 1, which helped us out, to be honest with you. Then we went and got Gretler at 8, and then it was Casey in the 9 hole. And I'll take my chances with Vince. And kind of a funny story about today's game and the guys that used. We were up here And in a double header, because we got rained out one day in 19, I mean, Vince, Randy, Gil, and Quinn got absolutely wrecked. And so to see those guys be the guys that made this happen today, that was very gratifying to see that.
Thank you.
Next question back to Brian Savage.
Coach, obviously, as you mentioned before, there was a lot of writing on this series, such as first place implications in the Pac-12, and a final opportunity to leave an impression on the NCAA selection committee for a chance at an automatic bid in the tournament. So how do you guys just leave all that to the side and block out all the noise surrounding this team and just focus on the task at hand?
Nobody that's going to be better at that than us, Brian. It's a great question. It will not be overlooked. I'm gonna let them enjoy this tonight. I mean, it's really hard to get to Tucson from the Northwest on a Sunday night. I'm not a fan of the curfew games, which everybody tries to play against us at home. So we're staying the night tonight. We'll feed them really, really well. And I'm not going to say a word to them about anything tonight. Then we'll travel home tomorrow. I will tell you, in the middle of the game, I was thinking about the 2-a-day practice we were going to have on Tuesday, since we're out of school. That's to be determined at this point in time, but we'll work hard. And, we're playing a team that's won 8 games in a row and is a really good coach. And Chris Fatenhauer, Zach Wilkins, our pitching coach, was on our staff here for a couple years and is a star in the making. So that I'm not taking that for granted. The other thing too is, going into the NCAA tournament, that's, 12 days from now. And so there's a real opportunity to get some things in order. And there are some things that happened in the game today that I want to get in order. And so we'll go to work on that. I was saying, I don't want to accept in winning what we wouldn't accept in losing. And we're not going to do that. So there's a few things that I itemized in the game today that we're going to go to work on Tuesday and Wednesday and be prepared for this weekend.
Thank you.
Next question back to Michael Lev.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of pick up on something that Brian Peterson had asked early on about the karma or whatever, but I wanted to phrase it this way. Do you feel like those kind of breaks even out over the course of time, like a bad call or something of that nature? Like you always talk about it goes back to the play. Do you think that those extraneous things just kind of balance out over time, and you maybe try to tell your guys not to get too upset about them?
I don't think about that a lot. I think about that, what happens and what the situation is. It's an event. Okay. And you have a chance to respond to what happened, and your response to what happens is going to determine the outcome. And I thought they responded really well to last night's game. We talked briefly when we got back, and really what I wanted to do is just clear that off of the players. They fought hard. We got the tying run to second. We got a bad call. We didn't execute. Okay. We can go back to it. Okay. In the last 6 years, there is no team in college baseball better at red zone offense than the Arizona Wildcats. Okay. We didn't do that last night. Okay. We didn't get those guys in. We had a pop-up priority thing in the first inning that led to a run that we didn't make the play on. All right. Nobody works on that more than us. So let's call it what it is. We didn't get done what we normally get done. We had a good pitching performance against us. They won. Now, last night has nothing to do with tomorrow unless you let it. And so I don't know, Michael, that's a long-winded answer to say, I don't know. And I don't think about it much. We want to control what we can control.
Do we have any more questions for Coach Johnson? All right. Thank you, everybody. That's all we have for tonight.
All right, guys. See you in a few days.